Hello, Comm 380er. Welcome to day one of the apocalypse. Unless you're watching this on Wednesday, in which case it's day 3. We're going to have to figure out the best way is going to be to do all this. I'm sure your other instructors are fumbling around as well. But I'm starting off with what I'm most comfortable with, and that is creating videos. So therefore we have 2, possibly a 3rd video for this first week. And as you can see, they aren't currently on the website when I'm recording this, but they will be by the time Monday's class comes around. So this initial video is really just to explain what we're going to be doing in class today, virtual class that is, and then I will start the process of telling you stuff. It'll be great fun. Now this isn't going to be real slick for the frivolous circus show that normally I add to my videos, so just giving you warning. All right, so what you see in front of you is the website, almost how it will look when you look at it. And you'll notice I have some links for an in-class, and I have an example of that. I'm going to leave that for now because that's actually the purpose of the second video. I will be doing a demonstration of the in-class assignment, and you can follow along with me. It'll be great fun.
Right.
In-class files, whether you're in the Monday or Wednesday class, will determine which one of those links you click on, but those will give you the files you need to do the in-class assignment. So anyway, more details on that in the next video. For this video, what I want to do is talk about what's due now, what's going to be due next, and then give you an overview of what this project is really all about, which the bottom link here you'll see is for Project 6.
I don't want to know.
So let me just get rid of this window here, and that takes us to this PDF file. All right, so why am I giving you a handout for Project 6? Is it just to confuse you more?
Yeah.
Well, actually, yes, it is. I really enjoy confusing my students. It's just such fun. But mainly I'm just giving this to you so that you have a sense of how Project 4 is going to fit into the final project. So you really don't need to do anything but just read the beginning of this, and it will just give you a sense of how your current project will be the home page and how it will tie into all of the other pages in terms of style and content when you get to the last project of the semester. So I just wanted you to have this sooner than later. Nothing to really worry about, but do give it a peruse just so you have a sense of the context of Project 4.
Yes, dear.
So obviously what was due today is, or Monday or Wednesday. I don't know when you're watching this. It's all a mystery to me. But what's due Monday and Wednesday, depending which class you're in, is step 1, which are 5 distinctly different concept sketches. Once you finish those sketches, and one of the things I asked you to do was let me know which one was your favorite, you are going to take that favorite idea and you are going to go to the next steps. So one step is for you to resolve the design. In other words, take your idea and execute it in a way that really gives that idea life. In other words, a layout. That's going to be what I call a tight rough or a comp, and you're going to do that in either Photoshop or Illustrator. And you're going to do this to a very tight finish. You're going to be using actual images that you are going to create or find. The copy is going to be real, no Greeking or anything like that. In other words, it's meant to emulate the final web page as closely as you possibly can. Photoshop or Illustrator, either one of those or a combination of the two is what I would like you to use. And I really want you to take the time to make this be as finished as possible. And very important, you need to work in a document size of 1024 wide by 768. Now, can it go deeper than that? In other words, taller? Yes, it can, but just know that those are going to be what's called below the fold. In other words, you have to scroll down to get to it. So that top portion, the 1024 by 768, really needs to contain all of your key navigation and your primary concept message. The second thing you're going to do once you have your comp done is create what's called a wireframe. Now the purpose of that is for production, for you to go in and work in Dreamweaver and for you to start building the boxes and getting them positioned and styled just the way you want them to be. So I realize this is a bit mysterious. It's a little hard to understand what I'm asking for. So I have found some examples from one of my classes last semester. So let's just get that up. All right, so 3 different students with 3 different designs and 3 different approaches to how they can do the wireframe anyway. But the first page of each of these is the comp, and most of these, I believe, were created in Illustrator, which I find to be easier for layout. But again, that's totally up to you. If you prefer Photoshop, go for it. So anyway, Alina here did her design, and it's very tightly defined in terms of position and color and typeface, and she even went ahead and did her illustration that she ended up using on the final. So that's the comp. That's easy enough to understand. And what you're going to do is just turn this in as an Illustrator or a Photoshop document, whatever you did it in. Remember, if you have placed images into either of those document types, then you need to give me those images too so that they show up when I preview it on screen. If you really want to be safe, make me a PDF of your comp, and then you know I'll be able to see it the way you want me to. Now the wireframe is taking that comp and converting it into dimensions. So as you know from last week's in-class assignment and the one we're going to do this week, it's a matter of defining what the biggest box is, what the boxes are that go inside of it, how they relate to each other. And for that, you need to know things like how big they are. Do things need to be floated? What's going to be type? What's going to be an image? So there's lots of decisions, and you need to figure out all of that stuff based on your design. So what Alina did here is she went ahead and just printed out her comp and then wrote on top of it the different dimensions. To me, this is what I would recommend you do. It's the easiest do, but it's just as accurate as any other method. Now, you're going to be getting the dimensions from Illustrator and Photoshop. In fact, I'm planning to do a short video to show you how to do that, but it's quite simple. You just go to the Properties window in Illustrator, and I believe it's also the Properties window in Photoshop. And you can find out how big the object is and its X and Y coordinates, and that's pretty much all you need to get the information to create your wireframe. So she split pixels. I wouldn't recommend you do that. I certainly would have made this width of 784.466, 785. All right, so that's Alina's. Very nice job, and her project came out very well. And this is one of my very favorites, not just from last semester, but of all time. So Carla is actually in my advanced class right now and doing very well. But I really loved her homepage. It's very fun, very artsy and conceptual looking. And what you see now is probably not nearly as fun as the final website because you don't get the interactivity of it. But what the website did is when you rolled over each one of these little images of her, then that image changed to a color image, and then it showed that color image here. So this is her page as it would load, and then these are showing all the different rollovers, even though only one small one and the big one would change on each hover over the object. So obviously this is a very tight finish. She even did a photo shoot just to get this comp done, and then she laid this out again in Illustrator, although obviously there was Photoshop work for the different elements. And then this is how she did her wireframe, which is absolutely just fine. No matter how you do it, you just need to be specific. Now, to me, this is a little harder because she actually drew everything kind of small, and that made it hard to make the notes. But obviously, if she printed out her comps, they would have been black, and that's hard to write on unless you have a gel pen or something like that. But so I'm not picky at all. This was perfectly acceptable, and she was able to execute it perfectly. In fact, her final web page looks exactly the same as her comp. It's really quite good. Okay, so one more. This is Raquel Felix, who just graduated, and she took a similar approach to Carla in terms of how she did her comm. So this is how her page would look when it loaded, and then these are the different rollover elements. So as you rolled over each one of these, then they would change to a color box with the type inside of it, and then obviously those are links to go to the project. So very clean, very nicely done. She actually ended up changing her design totally. I think by the time she finished, she was on her third or fourth design. She just couldn't make up her mind. But all of her ideas were good. And then the wireframe, she did it the most tightly of the three I'm showing you, and maybe even in the class. Absolutely nothing wrong with this. This is probably the way I would do it because I'm just so darn anal about this stuff. But it doesn't make this any better than any of the other two I showed you, although hers is very nice and detailed. So remember, you not only need to define the size of the boxes and their position within the format, you need to define the spaces in between them. And this is what's going to allow you to define margin and padding and various things, floating and other types of positioning, for you to be able to put these things where you want to put them. And so anyway, that is it in terms of overview for what is due next class. Both of these things are going to be due, zipped together, uploaded to the class server by the start of next class. And if you look at the project sheet, you'll see the date right on there. So don't forget to check that as you're working through this. And that becomes even more critical because obviously I'm not going to be pointing to it on the screen every week from now on. If you have questions, please reach out for me. But do keep in mind that I'm going to have an awful lot of students reaching out to me during this time. So all I would ask is that you please read the project sheet, check the website before you start contacting me to ask questions. And then obviously if you're confused about something, then please reach out right away so I can clear it up for you. So that's it. I will see you in the next video. Please let me know if you have questions.